Hi, I'm Erin from Cottage Designs by Erin, and as promised, today I'm going to be showing you how I organize my sewing room. The bulk of my sewing supplies are on the shelf behind me. This shelf is made out of old-fashioned bleacher seats from any gymnasium out of an old school, and I found this shelf for $55 in a local woodworking shop where a gentleman makes everything by hand. This was the ticket for what I needed because it could clearly hold the weight of all the items that I have on here. So I'm going to talk about each item and tell you how I kind of set things up. I have a hat box. This is from TJ Maxx, but you can also find it at Hobby Lobby or any of those discount stores, anywhere that you would normally see paper hat boxes. Okay, in this hat box, I have all my doll parts and pieces: wigs, shoes, doll panties, socks, because I am a doll costumer, and that's how I make a lot of my extra money. People can laugh at me for selling doll clothes and doilies and the things I sell on Cottage Designs by Erin on Etsy, but I'm laughing all the way to the bank. So here's a hat box. Next, I have just a cheap little inexpensive jar. I believe this came from the Dollar Tree. And I have all my aqua buttons in it, mainly because it matches my room, but also because I make a lot of vintage dresses with aqua buttons. I specialize in doll costuming, 1950s dolls and also 1800s dolls, antique dolls. So then I have one of my little German antique dolls, and she's just up here so she mainly doesn't get broken because she's very expensive. All right, I'm a huge fan of storing my supplies in jars. And recently a lady said, well, why would you want to do that? I don't want to have to stick my hand in there and dig out a spool of thread. Well, listen, I'm not the least bit offended by that. I have enough time to put my hand in a jar. It's all good, okay? So I used to have those spool peg holders that you could put your spools of thread on. I wouldn't recommend them. They get very, very dusty, and they do take up a lot of wall space, which I'm short on in here. Okay, I'm in an old 1930s, late 30s, early 40s home. This is a spare bedroom, and it's very tiny. To the right of me, I have two 6-foot shelves, which are a mess. I'm not going to show you those. And then this is where I still store the bulk of my items, and then I'll talk about a couple other pieces I have in the room. All right, so on to the jars. This is a standard ball jar, just an old mason jar. And in this, I keep all of my small miniature flowers for my doll dresses. Okay, so it keeps them clean, dust free, and I can see the colors readily. Here's a jar of little white buttons. This is just a jelly jar. And I keep these together because sometimes you need just solid white. Again, more miniature flowers. This jar means a lot to me because this belonged to my great grandma. It's an old canning jar, and it's the kind that seals. So you open it like that, and you can probably find these at any junk store. Look for jars at thrift stores like Goodwill, Salvation Army, yard sales. Just make sure they have the lid. It's important to always have the lid so your items don't get dirty. Okay, this is cool. This is a 1950s refrigerator jar. I kind of like the 50s vibe. And I have dropped this a million times and it never did break because it's so thick. And here I have safety pins. All right, these big glass jars actually came from Walmart, and they look vintage, but they're not. They're Better Homes and Gardens, and they run, I don't know what they are now, probably $15 to $18 each. When I set up my sewing room, I did not have a lot of money. I don't live in the burbs, and I don't have a multi-million-dollar sewing room, and I'm not married, so I don't have a husband that can install organizers for me and give me anything and everything my heart desires. Okay, that is not my life. I'm a teacher. I'm on limited income. I've been single for 27 years, and I have to pay for everything and do everything myself, which is fine. I don't mind being independent. So back to the jars. I could not buy all these at once because, as you can see, I've got quite a few, and it would get very expensive. So every payday, I would just go buy a couple more and a couple more and a couple more. All right, this came from an antique store. I have all my snaps in here, various snaps that I've picked up at junk stores. Okay, when's the last time you saw snaps for, cents? I'm talking, these are old, baby. Okay, but hey, guess what? They work just fine. So I like to buy, here's this package of snaps for 40 cents. They are now $6 or more a package. So when I see things like that, I pick it up and then I have a designated area for it. In this case, it's the jar. So, okay, next I have antique jelly jars. These came from an antique store that my best friend owns, and he sold these to me at a very reasonable rate. They're darling. Look at that. I bought them actually with the buttons in the jar. So I have 3 of those matching. Okay. I have another one of my great grandma Threed's jars, and this time I put zippers in it. These are 5-inch zippers, which are ideal for skirts. And so all my 5-inch zippers are in here. I don't have to dig around. I know exactly where they're at. I have to just press them with a little bit to get the crinkles and curls out of them, and they'll work just fine. Okay, I also have smaller jars back here. Those also came from Walmart, and they're, again, by Better Homes and Gardens. And the smaller ones, I think, run about $10. So this is not a very expensive endeavor. All right, next, I'm going to put the camera down just briefly. Whoop, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to get my hand on it. Feed buckets, baby. What? Okay. These are feed buckets, as in slop buckets that you would put animal feed in for cows, horses, pigs. Guess where I bought these at? Rural King. Okay, and these run about $15 to $20. I don't recall. It's been quite a while now. See, it says high grade steel. And why did I want this? Because it will not bend when I roll my fabric up and put it in it. I wish this was as organized as when I first moved in, but sadly, I did not maintain that, okay? I have all different kinds of fabric in there. Now, in the floor, I have huge, enormous feed buckets, and they are full of ribbon and heavier fabrics that are too heavy to put in just anything because it would bend the resource, okay? Wool, corduroy, those kinds of things I have down there. All right, also look for baskets. Baskets are our friend, okay? This is a basket that I won at Quilt Guild, and it had Christmas fabric in it, all folded up, little fat quarters, which was darling. But right now, I'm into sissy dolls and making sissy doll dresses. And so I have all my sissy patterns in this basket. Next, I put that away. Next, we have hat boxes. I have numerous hat boxes from Hobby Lobby. Now, again, I didn't buy them all at once. I bought a little at a time, but I did buy all the same print because I wanted everything to match. My sewing room is aqua, black, and white, and I have little touches of pink. So again, a 50s vibe. This particular one has lace in it. I have one larger than this that has all my embroidery floss. I have another one with hat making supplies. One with 100% cotton laces in it strictly for antique dolls. I have a larger one full of ribbon. And so these hat boxes are wonderful, and you can stack them up and they look like a big, beautiful cake. So I would highly recommend getting these. I bought these at the time when, remember, not too long ago in the last year when Hobby Lobby had the 40% off coupon. So you could go in there every day if you wanted to and buy something 40% off. So the larger ones that were very expensive, that's what I did with my coupon. All right, so in addition to this shelf, I also have in my room a 1950s child's dresser. It's teeny tiny, and my daughter was using it for a changing station to change my grandbabies on. And when they outgrew that, she gave it to me, and it has 5 drawers, which I have patterns in, and it has a pull-out armoire for their little coats and clothes. And on that side, I put all my tulle. I also had a family friend that was giving away a McCall's pattern cabinet. Now, you know how excited I was about that. She let me have it. It came from Walmart when Walmart quit carrying They're fabric sections, and it holds thousands, literally thousands of patterns. It has a lot of drawers, and I have the drawers labeled baby patterns, little girls patterns, and then I have sewing supplies in the bottom two drawers. I also have a freestanding cabinet from Hobby Lobby that has the multicolored drawers, and I'm thinking about actually buying another one of those. And I have all my miscellaneous notions in that. I have a drawer for elastic, a drawer for scissors, glue sticks, quilting templates, doll trims. I'm reading it as I look away from you. Sorry. I have a project drawer, markers, anything that I might need to craft with. So basically, I have a very teeny tiny room. There is no closet space. Well, I should say no. There's a next to nothing closet in here, and you can't fit hardly anything in it. And so I had to rely on freestanding furniture to hold all my supplies. I do have one blank big wall, which is north of me, and I have my design wall, my quilting wall on that. And if you quilt, I strongly recommend that you buy a quilting design wall. You can buy it for about $35. I purchased mine on keepsakequilting.com. I've had it for more than 20 years. And I had my ex-husband come over, and he nailed up a 1 by, I don't know, maybe 1 by 6. And we thumbtacked the design wall onto it. I can take it down anytime I want, wash it, thumbtack it back up there. It works great. So what is the purpose of all this? A friend of mine says, well, what's the big deal? Why? I mean, why? Why would you put yourself through this? Listen, I am in this line of work to make money. Yes, I have a strong passion for sewing. Yes, I enjoy what I do. But if you are not organized, you will go out and you will buy the same things over and over. It happened to me this week. I think I need some snaps. Well, when I started cleaning out the closet and putting everything in those little drawers, guess what? I had a boatload of snaps. I had a drawer full of sewing machine needles and quilting pins and silk pins. And I thought I needed more of these little miniature flowers. Guess what? Once I cleaned the closet out, I had a whole bunch of them. So if you're not organized, you will spend entirely too much money. You will keep buying the same things over and over, thinking that you need it, but you don't. Also, it saves time, effort, and energy to be organized. You know that old saying that says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure? It's true when you sew. You have to be able to find your supplies so that you don't waste time making your products. So, hey, I'm Erin from Cottage Designs by Erin. I'm just a Midwest girl doing what I love. I hope that you learned something from my video. What did we talk about? We talked about glass jars for storage, for thread, snaps, doll decorations, safety pins, zippers, anything and everything you can put in a jar. We talked about feed buckets. That's not something most people would think of. Roll your fabric up and stick it in there. It makes for a beautiful display. We talked about baskets for fat quarters, patterns, and anything you want to put in those. We talked about hat boxes for embroidery floss, laces, ribbon, anything that creates volume that you want to hide the mess. Put it in the hat box. Okay, so please subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks, and I hope along the way that I'm helping you out.